be valid. That whole procedure was going to go down in flames from the very beginning. So that's why no one's jacking it. What I'm snapping on, and I'm totally snapping on, is the numbers. They don't lie. They never did. They're never gonna. It was never gonna be a circumstance when a party that is only the producer, the manufacturer, will have leverage over those who do the buying. It doesn't work that way. Because you cannot make folks buy your stuff. They either do it themselves or go elsewhere. But you cannot make them buy your stuff. That's just how it is. So if you're going to go into a tariff or a trade war with someone, you better make sure that you have what you need to be able to win. And if you don't have that leverage, it's inevitable that you're going to lose. That's why I always say, I never saw this action in response to what particular parties on one side of the ocean was doing as an actual response to a quote-unquote tariff war. Somebody making particular moves with tariffs, and then Beijing responds. Their response was never about tariffs. I said it before, I'll say it again, it was about something else. It was about Taiwan. Plain and simple. They were never going to win on the tariff scenario. They wanted something else, and you didn't get it. And Xi just went to Moscow for the nonsense parade, and he was hoping to get something while he was there. He didn't get it there either. And as it appears to be at this point, there have been two that have been vying to be the replacements for Xi. And by the time they have their next Central Committee meeting or plenum or whatever they're going to call it this late summer, we'll see whether or not Xi is still in power afterwards. The military guy, I can't think of his appellation, he's the head of the CMC, Central Military Commission. By default, he's like the check and balance on Xi. He might be the one that's actually the real power right now, ever since Xi had his apparent stroke or whatever he's been dealing with neurologically speaking, Parkinson's or whatever it may be that he's dealing with. His hold on power has been diminishing ever since. He did a whole lot of purging, and then a whole lot of folks that he put into place in various parts of the military have been purged out. There are those he was looking to have succeed him. They have been purged out. So the Shanghai guys from Zemen, they're coming back in style in certain ways. And there's those from, can't think of his appellation, but he's the one that actually started their economic opening, if you call it that. His son and his faction are suddenly in favor. So it remains to be seen how folks are going to align themselves, given that the BRI has fallen apart in many different places. If you're going to produce shoddy engineering, if you're going to reduce shoddy infrastructure, you're going to see a whole lot of folks back out, and a whole lot of parties did back out of the deals they made. Then there are those who you hit them at a 4% interest rate as opposed to a standard 2% interest rate. Things went the way they went, and you went in there and they were not able to establish particular financial growth. They can't make the payments. And some of that stuff was collateralized, some of it was not. And basically they told you all throughout the mother continent, you get nothing. So Lusaka canceled particular projects. We know why Tanzania is there. We've done many interviews about that. We know that when Tanzania first, quote unquote, got alleged independence, nobody would finance their infrastructure. They brought in Beijing in the so-called 70s, and they went along with Beijing over time. They kicked the quote unquote Chinese out. They canceled that whole deal. And then they got someone that came into power, and they basically went back and said, can we have it back? And that's what they're doing right now. So since none of the parties, that are participating in BRI control their central banks, we already know there's no leftists, there's no alt-right. This is all just the machinations of the international banksters who control both sides. This is all dog and pony show for particular things. It's not our business. I don't care on the form. How all these things are impacting supply routes, commerce, and trade impacts inflation across the planet, which impacts the silver price. And again, that's the only reason why we've been discussing this stuff. Just the same, we see the numbers. So for the 5 minutes that they had their little quote-unquote tariff fight going on in earnest, I'm not saying they stopped, they just made some particular pause and a deep reduction, a deep reduction in certain tariffs that have been imposed while they allegedly hashed this out. It's already been decided. It's all dog and pony show. At the end of the day, it's still going to come down to one thing. Temporarily speaking, there is a dramatic increase in the tariffs that's been collected. It brought more funds into the Condos Hostiles Treasury. So their budget deficit decreased by at least 16% as a consequence. However, it's going to be temporary because, again, there's been a lowering of tariffs. And they just made a UK deal with Londinium. They kept particular tariffs in place. However, they didn't put tariffs on Rolls-Royce jet engines and a few other things to quote-unquote sweeten the deal, as they say. You are going to see a nominal increase in the tariffs collected again in the coming months by the Condos and Hostiles. Just not to the number that it was this time, because those numbers are being cranked down. So their ballooning national debt shall continue. That will put pressure on the 10-year and the 30-year. That will impact quote-unquote mortgages. That will impact a whole lot of things. And ultimately, it will impact the silver price, which makes it our business, since what we mainly collect on a monthly basis is, in fact, silver. So the buying power of our silver will be impacted in one direction or another. And that impacts what we're going to be buying on a monthly basis in terms of equipment, materials, and supplies outside of our, or rather inside of our current fiscal budget law.